Hey there gamers, Super Bobtendo here, and today I got a few things I'd like to talk to you about and get that out there, and I'd also like to share with you some of my really cool pickups that I've gotten in the last few weeks. First things first, I'd like to get it out there that the Nerdy Diggers will be doing a retro magazine that you can either order online for a PDF file, I believe is where it's going to be, and you can also order it offline, like a paperback, just like everybody at home likes, and it's going to feature all kinds of cool stuff, tips and tricks, some collector's corners. You guys can send us some pictures of your collections or your rare finds. You can send some drawings like what happens in Game Informer in the beginning there, the feedback section or whatever. Send us some of your stuff. We'd like to see what you guys got. Another thing I'd like to tell you guys about is that I will be doing an interview with the Game Chasers, Jay and Billy from the Game Chasers, and that's going to be more like a question and answer, hopefully. So I want you guys to check out their episodes and then send me some of their questions. Post them underneath my video, and or even on our Facebook page, Nerdy Diggers, or anywhere that you know how to get a hold of us. Post those questions. I'll get them answered, and that'll be featured in our first issue. Another thing I'd like to get out there too is that Atari Adam will be doing an interview with Troy Salling, who is heading the team behind the resurrection, if you will, of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Lost Edition. So that's going to be really cool too, and he's got some really cool stuff to share with you guys on that. So now that I got that out there, let me share with you some other things here. I got some really cool pickups. You know, it's been a long time since I had the camera, so now I'm really stoked to be able to get back to you guys here. So first things first, I'm going to share a stack of Super Nintendo games with you, and in here were some pretty cool games. First up, Hey Punk, Are You Tough Enough? Hope you guys can see that. This one is kind of like a Street Fighter ripoff, really. Not really as smooth of an engine, but still a pretty cool fighter game if you're into that kind of stuff. So if you've never checked it out, go for it. And I still gotta try to clean this kid's crayon off of it. You can tell the kid owned that one. Next up, kind of a really old game here. Wheel of Fortune Deluxe Edition. I haven't even tried this one yet, but it's got to be the same. It's got to be Wheel of Fortune, you know what I mean? This is one I really wanted to get my hands on. I can remember this one from when I was a kid. I used to have a lot of fun playing with like the music engine from it and some of the other stuff. The designing, you could actually work with like pixels in your drawing, and you can make like the Goombas and all that kind of stuff from the original Mario. And that one is Mario Paint. So I'm kind of happy to have that. I haven't really worked with it too much. Been kind of busy with some of these other games I've been playing. Another one up. I actually had another version of this one on the same platform, but this one is Street Fighter 2. That's it, just plain old Street Fighter 2. I didn't actually own this one up until this point, and the guy actually gave me 2 copies, and I don't really know if they're both mine, but I think he wants one back. But yeah, I got myself a copy of that, so I was pretty happy about that. A couple other games here, nothing too exciting right here on the top, but we have Tecmo Super NBA Basketball. Let you guys take a second look at that. I didn't really even know that Tecmo made a Super NBA Basketball, so when I saw it, I was kind of like, you know, it's cool. I haven't, never really been a big fan of those types of games, but you guys are, so I'm sure I'll have to get into them. Here's another one that I was kind of happy to find. I love the whole franchise for these. It's always a classic and really brings me back to some of my original video game days. And this one is Mrs. Pac-Man. To tell you the truth, I actually have more fun playing Mrs. Pac-Man than I do playing the regular Pac-Man, or Mr. Pac-Man, if you will. However you want to identify a Pac-Man by its gender. Next up, I have The Adventures of Batman and Robin. This one, not really much can be said about it, and plenty of people have reviewed it already. I'm sure I'll have my shot at it too, but this one, you know, what can you say? It's like Batman comic type of animation, and it's just traveling down the street, beating them up. It's pretty self-explanatory. They didn't really try all their hardest with that one, I don't think. And then the next one up is like the holy grail of Super Nintendo games in my eyes. And when I got this, I stayed up for 2 days straight playing it in a row. After the first time through, you get an extra hard mission. And I played it 7 times after I beat it the first time, without sleeping. It was a pretty rough 2 days, but I was happy I did it. And I wouldn't have traded it for anything else. And that's Super Castlevania 4. Hands down, one of the best on the Super Nintendo. Titles like this are what makes Super Nintendo one of my favorite platforms, and I know I'm not alone. There's a lot of you guys out there who would agree. So now that I have that stack taken care of, actually that stack right there came from a friend of mine whose name is Keith Cobb. He lives right here local around me. He's a cool guy. And he saw him in his collection. Well, not even a collection, really. He had the games lying around, and he said, you know, instead of just lying around in the bag, let's give him the Super Bobtendo. So that was pretty cool. Thank you, Keith, if you're watching this. So the next stack I'd like to move on to is something that Atari Adam actually brought over to me. He came to visit a while back, maybe a week and a half ago. And he had some things kicking around that he thought I'd enjoy. So the first thing I'm going to get to is a stack of 5 NES games that he thought I'd enjoy. First on the list, Skate or Die. This game, me and him used to play so much as a kid. And it's pretty horrible. And I went back and I tried to play this the other day, and I'm telling you, man, I did not realize that back then when we were alright at this game, we actually had some skills. Because nowadays, my 12-year-old counterpart would be kicking my 30-year-old today's counterpart's ass. Seriously. Next up on the list, all-time classic. Really not a big fan of this one, but it's a classic. Marble Madness. I actually have this on the Commodore 64 that I just got recently, but I don't really know if it works. I'll get to that later on, but I didn't bring it with me, but I have it. Still going to try to test it out. But next one on the list is Destination Earthstar. Basically, I fired this one up, and you're behind the cockpit view. You don't really see anything, but you see like space out in front of you, and you got coordinates that bring you in all different aspects of, you know, the gyro. And it's pretty easy to get lost, but if you know how to read your map and your gridding and all that, you can stay on track. And I haven't really made it too far in here, but from what I can gather, after the space sequence, you actually go into like a different side-scrolling platformer sequence, and you get a person and stuff. But I haven't really made it that far yet. I more or less just fired it on to make sure that it worked, you know what I mean? So, moving on. One of my all-time favorites from when I was a kid, and my dad used to play the crap out of it with us. So did all my brothers. We were all addicted to it. We used to play it all the time. And I think me and my dad might have made it about 9 worlds in. There's 12 in here, and it states it on the front. Solar Jetman. This was, man, a great game from growing up. And if any of you guys have ever played it, you'll know what I'm talking about. And for those who haven't played it, I recommend getting it. Basically, you're in like this little pod with a little rocket, and you got to try to fire yourself around cliffs and different types of gravity per world. And you got to gather up different ship parts and shields and bullet tights and all different kinds of stuff. And it's just a really good space game, and which was, you know, the Nintendo was really well known for stuff like that. And then an all-time classic that I just couldn't live without. I've been looking for it since I started recollecting again. Plain old Tetris. Currently got it on the Game Boy and on the Nintendo, but I'm looking for other copies of it as well, like Next Tetris on the PS1. If anybody has ever played that, if you're a Tetris fan, it's just really cool the things that they did with that one. And I'd also like to show you guys that Atari Adam got me the Metroid Fusion case for my Metroid Fusion. This is from Retro Game Cases, and if you've watched Atari Adam's video on that, you know a little bit about them, and what they do is some very cool stuff. It doesn't come with the manual, but as you can see, I have my Metroid Fusion in there. But it also has a DS slot, so I stuck my Metroid Prime Hunters in there as well. So that way it's one case, 2 games, which is really convenient. Next up is a stack of 3 Super Nintendo games that Atari Adam also thought I'd like. The first one's got some real bad label damage, but the game works just fine, and this is one that I couldn't live without either, and this is another one my dad would play with us. You know, as I started recollecting, I found that my dad really enjoyed quite a few games with us. You ask him now, and he's like, oh, I never played that, I never played that. Well, Dad, I got proof, man. Somewhere I got proof. But it's F-Zero. This one is, you know, it's a futuristic, space-age type of racer, and the courses are just hell. You know, they go up and down, around. There's some where the wind just wants to push you off the track, and there's always open spots where it can. It gets pretty rough. Next one up is another LJN masterpiece. Good God, is it a lump of crap. I actually got past the building spot where people tried to like get up there with their web and tried to climb to the top of the building. That seems to be where everybody can't get past. Well, I made it past that, but I didn't make it much further. It's Spider-Man vs. Venom, Maximum Carnage. It's basically like a Streets of Rage type street brawler. That's what a lot of people call them, a street brawler. And it's pretty flawed. But, you know, if you end up with it, it's one of them cool ones that has a red cart. There isn't very many of them that have it. I know Doom, off the top of my head, I can remember had a red cart, and then that one. But the last but not least, out of Atari Adam's selection there, was Jurassic Park for the SNES. This was an overhead type of Jurassic Park. It wasn't like the side-scrolling platformer from the Sega Genesis, which coincidentally was much better. This one, I just really couldn't get past the first stage. I figured out what I had to do. I just had a hard time staying alive long enough to do it. You got to go around to different sections of the overall map trying to find these little eggs. That's what I figured out to do first, but good luck trying to make it anywhere past the first few. It gets pretty rough, man. And your guns, oh god, horrible. Moving on, we also have, oh yeah, this was one from the stack from Keith Cobb too. I wonder what it was doing over there. But that is The Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past. There's a great game right there. And I won't even bother saying too much on it because you guys all know just how good that one is. I actually have it on the Game Boy Advance as well. And another one here is Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time. That one's another type of street brawler type of thing with the turtles. Much like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 arcade game for the NES. So if you like that one, you'll like this one too. And it's kind of cool how you bounce back and forth between different stages in time. And another cool thing about it too is that it actually keeps track of your overall time. And I went through it all by myself, and I did it in like 27 minutes and some change. And then went back through it with my brother Cameron, and we did it in like 27 minutes and 27 seconds or something like that. So that must be a pretty average time for it. I have so much more to get to. Where to next? Well, I have a stack of PS2 games here to get to, but I also have another thing I'd like to show you guys, and that is that in a box of video games that were out in the rain getting wet, which I'll get to more of in a second here, there's some Commodore 64 games I'll get to, there was a copy of Street Fighter II Turbo, which I already had, but I was able to take the other one that I had and trade it to my buddy Orion for Super Return of the Jedi. So no longer am I worried about whether or not I'll have that one. That one's part of my collection now. So I figured I'd show you guys that. So I ended up with a couple games on that. Also, I have a stack of PS2 games from him. I have, first, Dynasty Warriors 5. That one is actually pretty cool. It's a samurai, semi-open world beat-em-up. Like, you know, just hordes of people. You're like a one-man army, basically. Hordes of guys come after you, and you just gotta slaughter them down as fast as you can. Another good one, I won't really have to say too much about this, Mortal Kombat Deception. It's a Mortal Kombat game. It's got a lot of cool unlockables and different features and stuff like that. You got the chess combat, conquest, adventure, puzzle combat, which was you and another person on a Tetris type of game. That's the back right there. It's a pretty good one. I didn't mind it. I played it with my younger brother, Liam. This one here, too, we got Call of Duty 2, the big red one. Haven't really got a chance to play it too much, but if it's anything like the movie, then it's going to be, I think, a Normandy invasion, France war. It's going to be World War II, you know. All-time favorite here on the PS2. I love this one. This was really before I even got into Call of Duty. And that's the first Ghost Recon. This was one of them shooters where you weren't forced to have to see your gun on screen. You weren't forced to have to see your guy on screen. It was just open with your crosshairs. And, you know, pretty linear running, you know. When you go over a hill, it just kind of goes straight. It doesn't, like, dip with it, you know, like on your new Call of Duties. You can dive behind stuff. It's a little bit more cumbersome than that, but it's still a pretty good game, and it definitely deserves another playthrough, especially on campaign. Another one here, which I have the first two of the series too, so it was nice to get the second two. And then it even came with another one in between that was like a sub-game, and that is Legacy of Kain, Blood Omen 2. I have Blood Omen 1 and Soul Reaver 1, so it was nice to get this. I still haven't gotten to these yet, but my brother Liam has, and he loves it. And next on the list there too is Soul Reaver 2. So I'm kind of like really stoked to play those ones. I'll let you guys know more in the future about what I think about them. I haven't really had a chance to play them yet. GameStop copy of Pro Skater 4, Tony Hawk, and a copy of Need for Speed Underground 2, I believe. Nope, that's 1. Need for Speed Underground 1. I used to have the second one on the GameCube, and it was pretty cool how you could like really pimp out your car. Like you could purge your nitrous in different colors and stuff. I actually made a car that kind of matched Samus Aran's Phazon suit from the Metroid Prime series, so it was kind of cool. I thought it was kind of funny. I got a couple of used games lying around here for like $4.99. I looked at this one. This one's got a pre-owned price still. My voice is so dry. It's got a pre-owned price still of $44.99. God, you would never catch me dead paying $44.99 for Need for Speed Underground, let alone any racing game. It's crazy. kind of money people think you'll spend on something like that. And I bet you plenty of people bought it. Obviously, I've got it.